The film opens by showing a woman in her 40s named Rafi. She has just separated from her husband. There Rafi meets her best friend named Lisa. Rafi confides in her current problems. In another place there is a young man named David who is walking with his friend named Morris. They plan to watch a movie at the cinema together. Upon arriving at the cinema, David and Morris meet their other friends. Apparently Rafi is also there. That's where David and Rafi start to get to know each other. But not long after, David's girlfriend named Michelle comes to meet David. David and Michelle then go first into the cinema. But when the film is playing, David feels bored and goes to the toilet. Apparently Rafi is also sitting alone there. They chat again, and without them realizing it, the two of them start to be attracted to each other. Since then David has been thinking about Rafi. He even comes to Rafi's apartment more often just to get to know Rafi better. They also go out together more often just to eat together. David really fell in love with Rafi, and Rafi seemed to have the same feelings as David. Until finally one night when they were in the park, they made love for the first time. Even though they were aware of the age difference between them, it did not hinder their love story. The next day David came to Rafi's apartment again, but this time it was Rafi who asked him to come there, and asked David to bring food. But when they finished eating, they immediately made love further for the first time. Rafi and David met more and more often, and repeated the intimacy like the night before. Rafi felt happy with his relationship with David. He told Lisa that he was close to a man. Lisa also supported as long as Rafi was happy. But when Rafi told about the man, Lisa realized something was wrong. Lisa suddenly asked Rafi to leave there. And here it turns out Lisa realized that Rafi's lover was her own son. On the other hand, Rafi and David also grew closer. They even wanted to go further and intended to get married. Rafi even asked David to live with him in his apartment. Days were spent happily with David. Rafi even invited David to go on vacation to his friend's place. When they got there, they immediately went into the room and immediately made out. And at night they all went to a party. But when David saw Rafi carrying his friend's child, Rafi looked very happy, as if he wanted to have a child. This is where David began to be afraid, and was not ready if it really happened. From there, David slowly began to distance himself from Rafi. Until one day, Lisa saw Rafi with David. She began to think that she couldn't let this go on for long. She then met Rafi and said that David was her son. Hearing that, Rafi was shocked and couldn't believe that he was dating his best friend's child. Since then, arguments have often occurred between Rafi and David. Rafi wanted to immediately take a more serious step, but David apparently wasn't ready for that. And in the end they separated, even though their hearts still loved each other. After parting they were really upset and missed each other, but both were too embarrassed to contact each other first. Morris, who couldn't stand seeing his best friend upset, then invited him to go find entertainment. There David met a woman. There David invited the woman home, and made out until morning. The next day, David accidentally met Rafi again at the supermarket. Because he missed her too much, David invited Rafi to come to his place and relieve his longing by making out many times. After that they chatted and agreed to get back together. Long story short, David's mother also found out that David was still in a relationship with Rafi. But this time she gave the green light and asked David to bring Rafi to her house. Rafi was really scared when he came there. But when he got there, Lisa warmly welcomed Lisa's arrival and said that she allowed Rafi to continue being with David. Rafi was very happy when he found out Lisa agreed to his relationship with David. However, a new problem arose. Apparently the woman who was with David the other day was Rafi's co-worker. Knowing that, Rafi was very disappointed and couldn't believe that David would do that to her. David was very sorry and didn't want to be separated from Rafi again. He then went back to meet Rafi in his apartment and apologized to Rafi. Luckily Rafi was willing to forgive him and they made up again and continued to make out in Rafi's apartment. Rafi did forgive David, but he realized that his life goal was to find a partner and have children, while David still wanted to have fun enjoying his youth. And finally they really separated that night. A year passed. One day, while walking with Morris, he accidentally entered a restaurant that he often visited with Rafi. There David saw Rafi with his friends. But he didn't dare to meet him and only looked from behind the door. But apparently, unexpectedly, Rafi also looked at him. They looked at each other, and memories of the past came back to their minds. And the film ended.